the Antarctic coastline is a very dynamic environment. Ice shelves and glaciers carve or break off, and occasionally that means that the emperor penguin colonies have to move. Um, and that stands them in good stead with climate change, really, because it means they aren't static. They won't just stay there, whatever. We think that the majority of them will try to find new ice, better ice, and more stable ice if the ice on which they're breeding becomes unsuitable. So this was an opportunistic survey, really, uh, done as part of our monitoring, because we're monitoring emperor penguins every year now to see how they're moving and how they're coping with climate change. And during that survey, looking for the movements of colonies, we managed to find these four new breeding sites, which have always existed, but we've never spotted them before. The importance of this is twofold. It does increase the population slightly, but also it shows us the colonies which where the colonies are, because there are a discrete number of colonies around Antarctica, and as the penguins move to find new ice, they may start going to these new colonies. So we need to know where they're going to move to, because they rarely form brand new colonies. They usually move to pre-existing colonies. So it's very important to know where all the colonies are so we can track their movements over time. So all of these colonies have been found in the last calendar year or so. Although we can go back in the archive and see that they have been there for some time. So they're not colonies that have just occurred. They've always been there. It's just that we haven't discovered them yet. They're newly discovered, not new colonies. For this paper, we've used something called the Sentinel-2 satellite, which it's got a resolution of about 10 meters, and we don't usually see the penguins. We just see the brown stains on the ice. I don't probably need to tell you what the brown stain is, but it's very visible on the white ice. There's nothing else that's brown on the ice, so we can see those stains, and we can see. And then when we've used that's some sort of medium resolution satellite, when we identify the white brown stains, then we can send the really high resolution satellites, which don't take imagery all the time. You have to task them. You have to ask them to take an image. But once we've found those sites, we can task those satellites to take an image and confirm that it's called a penguin colony. And when we get that, that's a resolution of maybe 30 centimeters, about the A4 sheet of paper. And we can see all the penguins individually on those high resolution images. So we can confirm it's emperor penguins. They don't like to stay in one spot too long because they've got to rehydrate by eating snow. So they'll move, and their stains will continually get larger over the course of the season, sometimes many kilometers wide. So although you may only have a huddle of penguins, which is 100 feet, you might have a mile of brown stain behind them. We do forecast changing sea ice conditions, ocean and atmospheric warming, which will impact the sea ice and make much of it unsuitable habitat for emperor penguins. So this is going to happen more often in the coming years, in the coming decades. As we monitor it, we're already seeing sea ice change quite dramatically around Antarctica over the last 5 or 6 years, which isn't good for emperor penguins. We can monitor it. We can't put the sea ice back. We can't build something for them. That's not the way that it works. So it's really just a matter of seeing how they adapt and changing our own behaviour, really, because it's not the really it's not the emperor penguins that need to adapt and change. It's us that need to adapt and change to to stop the world warming up. Because the emperor penguin is one species, and this is going to happen to many other species as well.